All right, it is week 5 of the fantasy football season. So that means it's time once again for our reminder that kickers are people too. I'm going to be going through ranking every single kicker for fantasy in week 5. Let's hop on into it. All right, first up, we got 4 buys this week. We got Brandon McManus of the Packers, Chris Boswell of the Pittsburgh Steelers, Parker Romo of the Atlanta Falcons, and Cairo Santos of the Chicago Bears. So if these are one of your guys, be looking to make an ad. All right, first up, our favorite tier, your stardom every week, guys. And you know what? After a great couple of weeks, including the longest outdoor field goal in NFL history, welcome back our guy, Chase McLaughlin of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. He's back in there. He just had a rough start. Our guy's back. Pair him with Spencer Schrader of the Indianapolis Colts, kicker number 1 on the season, Jake Elliott of the Philadelphia Eagles, Harrison Butker of the Kansas City Chiefs, Jake Bates of the Detroit Lions, Brandon Aubrey of the Dallas Cowboys, and Cameron Dicker, the kicker of the LA Chargers. These are my guys. You just kind of plug and play, baby. They may not have the highest week every week, but they are so reliable. And more often than not, they're going to get you the points you need to bring home that dub. Okay, Ryan Fitzgerald of the Carolina Panthers, kicker 28 on the season right now. And can we at all trust this Panthers team? I know they're playing the Miami Dolphins. Not a very good defense. I still just don't trust them. Bench Fitzgerald. Even when he does get the few opportunities to kick, he hasn't been perfect this year, so I would avoid him altogether. Let's just stay away from those Carolina Panthers. Okay, Josh Karty of the Los Angeles Rams, kicker number 17 on the year. And, he had that disaster week against Philly, 2 field goals blocked. Not necessarily all his fault. Was a much better this week against the Colts, but still kind of a very low ceiling for you. The LA Rams like scoring touchdowns. They don't really like kicking field goals. So Karty out there, if you need to, one of your guys on a bye, deep league, we're talking 12 teamers, 14 teamers, you can go ahead, and if you have to, the Rams do have a decent matchup this week against the San Francisco Niners on Thursday night. I would just try to avoid it though if you have to. Okay, Joey Slye of the Tennessee Titans started out super hot this season, has kind of fallen off, including a goose egg last week, still kicker number 7 on the year, but going to Arizona, and I do not trust this Tennessee Titans offense. Their offense has been so bad the last few weeks. I know they've played some pretty good defenses, but I'm just going to try and avoid Joey Slye. I know he's been really good. People picked him up on the waiver wires thinking, oh yeah, we got ourselves a guy. It's just not worth it to me. I don't want to have to watch the Tennessee Titans. I don't want to have to deal with the Tennessee Titans, especially when it comes to kicker. There are better kickers out there. Not going to let those 2 big first weeks fool me. I just don't think this Titans offense is going to be able to do anything. So Joey Slye, if you have to, if you still have the faith, I appreciate you. I love you. Just not for me. Okay, Daniel Carlson of the Las Vegas Raiders. Really good first 2 weeks of the season, but kicker 21 now on the year. Back-to-back duds. They're taking on the Indianapolis Colts. This Raiders team sucks. He just had a field goal block. Carlson's not reliable at all. I'm going to go ahead and bench Carlson. I just don't want to deal with him. Don't want to watch Chino throw 46 picks for then my kicker to then have a 56-yard field goal block. Just not for me. Don't do it. Daniel Carlson, bench him. Okay, Chad Ryland of the Arizona Cardinals. Hasn't been anything crazy this year so far. Kicker number 14. Pretty consistent like the 10 to 9 point range. But they're taking on the Tennessee Titans this week, and the Titans are one of the worst teams in football. They're pretty bad. Long rest for the Cardinals, and I did like what we saw at the end of that Thursday night game for Arizona. Not a super high ceiling, but Chad Ryland is a fine guy. If he's out there, like I said, you got a guy on a bye like Chris Boswell, guy like Ryland's out there, pick him up. Not going to have a huge week for you, but he's more than capable to spot start. So Chad Ryland, a fine start here in week 5. And you know what? I think I'm going to roll with my guy, Chad Ryland. It is the Tennessee Titans, so I'm heading straight on over to Underdog. Chad Ryland over 2.5 extra points. I think the Cardinals are going to punch that ball into the end zone this week. And if you guys are new to Underdog, make sure you sign up using the link down below. Promo code THECATCH. You're going to get a free pick 'em for week 5. Take that pick 'em. Take Chad Ryland to make 2.5 extra points. And if both of those hit, you're going to automatically double your cash entry. And on top of that, Underdog is giving all new users who deposit with promo code THECATCH a 50% deposit match up to $1,000. And as soon as you play $5 on Underdog, they're automatically going to give you an additional $50 to use towards week 5. Again, new users signing up with promo code THECATCH. Let's take advantage of all these great deals heading into week 5. Okay, Riley Patterson of the Miami Dolphins. He's been dreadful this year. Kicker number 25. But the Dolphins are taking on the Carolina Panthers. Carolina is at home, though. Carolina just pitched a shutout their last home game. They were terrible against the Patriots. Not worth the risk for me. Go ahead and bench Riley Patterson. I don't want to, even if it is the Panthers, they have some weird, we've seen them do weird stuff at home. The Dolphins just locked Tyreek Hill. We don't even know what the Dolphins offense is going to look like. I doubt Darren Waller's the savior to Miami. Go ahead and bench Riley for this week. All right, Blake Grupe of the New Orleans Saints, kicker number 29 on the year for a guy who was really good last year. But this offense, it's not a dumpster fire. It's not nearly good enough, though, and they aren't kicking field goals. They are scoring touchdowns. And if they do kick field goals, they kick maybe 2 field goals. And they're taking on the New York Football Giants, who do have a very, very good defense. The game is indoors. It is in New Orleans. I'm just not going to do it, man. Not worth the risk for me. Go ahead and sit Blake this week. I just don't think there's too much upside, and it's not worth the play. Even with the buys, there's better options out there. All right, we got Andy Borregales, I'm sure I butchered that again, of the New England Patriots. Kicker number 30 on the year, but did have a good week last week. Now, the Patriots scored in too many touchdowns, 6 touchdowns, all 6 extra points. But they're taking on the Bills this weekend, Sunday Night Football in Buffalo. Not a great place to kick. This Bills defense is really bad, though. We just see teams moving the football on them, but not totally moving the football on them. And I liked what we saw to the Patriots offense. I'm going to put them in the if you have to category. If you want to take a risk, there could potentially be an upside here. Patriots get stopped in the red areas. You are able to move the football between the 20s against Buffalo, kick some field goals. You got a guy on a bye. Could be an interesting, spicy play. So I'm going to say if you have to play him, not a total bench for me in week 5. All right, Szmyt of the Cleveland Browns, and he's been really Szmyt on the season. Kicker number 32 did have that awesome game winner against Green Bay. Taking on Minnesota in London. Both these offenses feel kind of bad. Defenses aren't great. Defense in Minnesota hasn't been great against the run. So maybe the Browns can move the ball a little bit, but this team just scores like 10 points every week. So not going to play him. It's weird. It's outdoors. It's in London. Who the hell knows what we're going to see? Nobody wants to wake up at 8:30 in the morning, 9:30 in the morning, or 6:30 in the morning to watch the Browns and the Vikings play. So just go ahead and sit Szmyt if you even are thinking about playing him. Okay, Jason Myers of the Seattle Seahawks, a guy who's always been kind of like a solid average kicker, is really having a good fantasy season. Kicker number 3 on the year after back-to-back huge weeks, 16 and 13 points respectively. Now, New Orleans and Arizona, they're taking on a Tampa Bay team who has a pretty good run defense, but there are some holes in the secondary. You can move the football on Tampa Bay at times. 10 days rest, games in Seattle. I think he's a fine start this week. I don't know if I love this matchup overwhelmingly because I could see the Seahawks offense getting bogged down if Sam Darnold's forced to throw the football. They take away K9, they take away Charbs. But Myers has been really, really reliable. The Seahawks do settle for field goals. Mike likes to kick field goals, defensive head coach. So we look for. So Myers could be a guy who has some really long-term upside for us over the season. Now, the matchups coming up aren't the best. Jacksonville, Houston, then the bye. So maybe there's something there, but I'm interested to see him this week. I think if he's available out there, go ahead, scoop him up. You got a guy on the bye, play him this week. Totally safe pickup for you. So Jason Myers here in the fine to start category. Okay, this one just hurts my soul. Evan McPherson, one of the best kickers in the league a few years ago, gets hurt last year, was having a decent start to the year this year, but this Bengals team is dead. The offense is dead. Taking on the Detroit Lions. What a gauntlet schedule for this Bengals team. You can't play Evan McPherson. He's kicker number 31. We're going to bench him. Thanks, Jake Browning. Thanks, Zach Taylor. Thanks, Joe Burrow's turf toe. Very sad day. Evan McPherson, a bench for the foreseeable future. Okay, Matt Prater of the Buffalo Bills, kicker number 5 on the year after a hot start to the season, including the game winner in week 1. Kind of down a couple of weeks now for Buffalo. And their offense has kind of been inconsistent. Now they're taking on the Patriots. I think this is a really, really good matchup. If you're if you're a believer in Prater and you're a guy, I think this is the spot for him. New England's defense isn't that good, Buffalo's offense has been a little shaky. We're going to see some field goals this week. I love Matt Prater. I think he's going to have a big bounce back week for us. I could see 3 or 4 field goals for him because the Bills going to get like stuffed in the red zone or some stupid stuff like that. Offensively, they've been concerning, but I really like Prater. He's really reliable, and it's a big primetime spot, so he's going to get the juices flowing. Give me Matt Prater in a great spot against the Patriots here in week 5. Okay, new kicker for the Giants, Jude McAtamney. He was perfect last week, 2 for 2 on his field goals, 1 for 1 on his extra points. But it's the New York Giants. They are taking on the Saints, so I'm not going to put him in the bench category. We don't really know. He's like the backup third-string kicker. Who knows what we're going to get out of him? I mean, if you have to, why not? There could be some points here against the Saints defense. I don't know. It's kind of a huge unknown. Did a good job against the Chargers. What are we going to see out of Jackson Dart? The offense did feel a little bit more alive in New York here. In New Orleans, pretty good place to kick as well. It's just like, I don't want to tell you to play this guy, but I don't really want to tell you to bench him either because it's a good matchup overall. So if you want to get a little frisky over here, start Jude McAtamney in week 5. Okay, Matt Gay of the Washington Commanders. And you know what? Kicker number 10 on the year, but was pretty dreadful the first 2 weeks and has been excellent the last 2. Now taking on Las Vegas and Atlanta. A little bit different defenses as they're going to LA to take on the Chargers. And honestly, I think Gay is a fine start, especially if Marcus Mariota plays. Feels like this team kicks a hell of a lot more field goals when Mariota's in there. Now, we haven't seen Jaden since that Thursday night in week 2 against Green Bay. So if he's back in there, the offense could be a little bit sluggish, especially against a good Chargers defense that's going to be out for blood after losing to the Giants. So a little bit scary potentially, but I think he's a fine start if Mariota's out there. I would probably stay away if Daniels is there just because, you know, things aren't as smooth. The operation isn't going to be as nice. A little bit scary, but if he's out there, you got to buy. I think he's a pretty solid kicker overall for this week. So give me Gay with potentially a decent upside against the Chargers in week 5. Okay, Will the Thrill Reichard of my Minnesota Vikings, kicker number 9 on the year. And kind of interesting, this Vikings offensive line is so banged up, and they are going up against a juggernaut in the Cleveland Browns defense. Browns defense is no freaking joke. Offense is a joke. Defense is not a joke. Those guys are awesome out there. And I just don't know what we're going to see out of this Vikings offense. Now, they have struggled in the red zone. Carson Wentz has shown some moments to move the football. Probably not going to be J.J. McCarthy back this week. Outdoors in London, I'm going to put him in the if you have to category. Will Reichard's a really good kicker. He's one of the better kickers in the NFL. I just think this is a bad spot with the offensive line in the shape that's in, with the defense they're going against. Could be bad. I like him better. You know, he's going to be on a bye, so might be time to potentially cut him. If you got some roster spots, do some stuff, because we just don't know. My Vikings offense can't move the football without an offensive line. Reichard's a great kicker. Bad spot for him here in week 5. Okay, Tyler Loop of the Baltimore Ravens, kicker number 6. Kicker number 6 on the season, but Lamar Jackson probably out. That means Cooper Rush is going to be the quarterback, and they're taking on the Houston Texans, who just pitched a shutout, and their defense has been the best, one of the best defenses in football, if not the best defense in football to start the season. I'm not going to tell you to cut Tyler Loop. It is a little early. I'm going to give Cooper Rush 1 week. If you have to play him, but I'd be petrified. Don't have any sort of expectations for Loop this week. This is a bad matchup with his backup quarterback, most likely. Put him here if you have to, because he's been so good for us on the season. Loop, I'm very concerned. Very concerned here. So Tyler Loop, if you have to. All right, Will Lutz of the Denver Broncos, and probably one of the biggest disappointments in fantasy so far is this Broncos offense in general. Kicker number 27 on the year, has not had good years. Broncos have been scoring more touchdowns than field goals, and they're going to take on the big bad Eagles in Philadelphia, coming off a short week. I don't trust this offense, and if they do, they go for it on 4th down. They score touchdowns. I'm going to bench Lutz, man. This is a bad week for kickers. I think there's a lot of bad matchups for us out there, so not worth starting, not worth having on your team right now. Will Lutz, put him on the bench. All right, Eddie Pineiro, kicker number 23, and that's with missing week 1, not being on a team, so not bad for us so far. This 49ers offense, though, yikes. Yikes, it's ugly. The defense has been holding it down. Brock Purdy's banged up again. They play on Thursday. Are we going to get McCorkle? The Rams are also a very good defense. Bench Eddie Pineiro. Don't touch it. Like I said, boys, this is a brutal week for kickers and matchups. Throw them on the bench. Not a whole lot of options for us out there in week 5. Okay, the legend is back. Fairbairn of the Houston Texans. Pretty disappointing season for us so far, especially with this Texans offense. They've been dreadful. Kicker number 15, but he has been really good when he's had the opportunities to kick for us out there, but they've been few and far between. Houston Texans, though, taking on the Baltimore Ravens in Baltimore without Lamar Jackson. And guess what? That Ravens defense is the Dallas Cowboys with better jerseys, baby. I am loving Fairbairn this week. We saw some positive juice from the Texans offense against the Tennessee Titans. I know it's the Titans, but you got to start somewhere. This Baltimore defense is worse than the Titans defense. We're going to get the run game going. We're going to get Woody Marks involved. We're going to throw the ball to Nico Collins. He's still great at football. And Fairbairn's going to be kicking us field goals. I'm loving the matchup. Huge bounce back spot for us. We're going to show you how kicking is done in Baltimore this weekend. I'm smash playing Fairbairn this weekend. All right, Nick Folk of the New York Jets. And speaking of the Dallas Cowboys defense, the Jets are taking on the Cowboys. And Folk's been pretty solid this year. Kicker number 11, pretty consistent. The Jets offense makes your eyes want to bleed and you hate it so much. But they do move the football sometimes on some drives. And they can kick field goals. Nick Folk's been really solid. Maybe the big leg isn't there. He is 40 years old. But he's pretty reliable. He's pretty consistent for us. And this is a terrible defense. And they're in New York, which I like. If they were in Dallas, this team could easily get blown out. Now it's going to be a fun, high-scoring game. Give me Nick Folk. I think he's a fine start this week, especially with the limited options we've seen out there. Maybe not a super high ceiling, but 10 to 11 points for us. Not bad. I'll take Nick Folk this week as a fine start against the Cowboys. All right, and last and certainly not least, it's the little man, Cam Little of the Jacksonville Jaguars, hosting the Kansas City Chiefs on Monday Night Football. This is probably the biggest game in Jacksonville in about 15,000 years. Cam Little, kicker number 12 on the year. We know he had all the hype going into the offseason, or coming out of the preseason, making 70-yard field goals. Had a great week 1, and he's been kind of downgraded each and every week. The Jaguars' offense is bad. The Jaguars' offense is bad. They can run the football a little bit. Hard to move the football against Kansas City, though. This Chiefs defense is a handful. I do think this is a fine start. Cam Little is a very good kicker. And if, the Chiefs defense isn't elite out there, you get into field goal range, we can kick them from 70. We do love that distance upside. I just don't trust this Jaguars offense yet. ETN's been really good. Trevor Lawrence is driving me crazy, man. He's killing us at fantasy. Can't move the ball enough, and they turns it over in the red zone. Even if, just don't turn it over in the red zone. Get stopped. Let us kick a field goal. You're killing my guy Cam. Fine start for us this week. It's a really brutal week out there for fantasy kickers, so he might be your best option out there. Cam Little, I think, has a solid week. Nothing too crazy here in week 5. All right, and that's going to do it for us this week. Let me know down in the comments below. I'm answering all of your kicker questions heading into week 5. If you haven't already, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel. We got all the daily fantasy football content you guys could ever need. I mean, your must-starts at quarterback, wide receiver, tight end, running back, defenses, your streams, guys you need to be trading for right now if you want to make your fantasy playoffs. We got it all here on The Catch. Be sure to check out the links down below. Again, like, subscribe, and share. And we'll see y'all tomorrow.